And welcome to Habs Unfiltered, episode 249. I'm your host, Blaine Putney. I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Smith.
Good morning.
Treg Wilson wishes he could be here, but he is preparing for his move to Ottawa. He has a course and he has very few days left with his family, so he's got a ton of work to do in his yard. So he wishes he could be here, but he wants to pass on to everyone, hello, and no, I will not wear a shirt in my pictures. He said that because I keep asking him to, put some damn clothes on.
Yeah, those days are over. He's just driving around. He's just driving around Halifax with his new truck right now. No shirt.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's on his way to go buy some truck nuts for his new Dodger.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very nice truck, though.
It is a nice truck. Black rims, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, he did a good job.
He'd get a lift kit, but then he would need stairs to get in.
Yeah, exactly.
We just want to say also thank you to our partners at Boxing Rock Brewing, makers of Puck Off Beer. They have been kind enough to support us by giving us beer to give away to you, our listeners. I'll be in the Halifax area over the next week, providing Habs fans a case of beer. So keep an eye out for some strange, random sailor with a beard running up to you with a case of beer yelling, "Take this, take this."
Is that only available in Halifax?
Nova Scotia.
I could use that right now.
Well, I mean, if you fly out here, I can give you 27 cases.
It might be dangerous. Especially since I'm leaving soon myself.
Yeah.
Might be dangerous.
Well, you need that one last hurrah before you go off to war.
Yeah, pretty much. It might be an idea.
All right. Well, moving on to what people are here for. Also, before we start, I want to mention that it is the 105th anniversary of the Battle of Vimy Ridge. That is the battle that gave birth to Canada's national pride. It was a massive battle. It was the first time that the Canadians had fought together as an entire army under Canadian command in our nation's history. And this was a key battle in World War I that turned the tides and definitely led to the eventual victory for the Allies. So take a moment to research this, look it up, think about the veterans that have come before us. Just keep that in mind. So on to hockey. Injury report. So before last night, Barron and Byron were day-to-day with their injuries. Drouin, last night it was reported he is now out for the remainder of the season with wrist surgery, which was successfully completed on Friday. And Jake Allen last night, during the first goal by Austin Matthews early in the game, looked to hurt his groin or his glute because he came up limping. He needed help getting to the room. It did not look good.
It kind of looked like a groin injury, and he's had those kind of injuries throughout the year. It's very unfortunate, but you get a guy that's in there, and I know we're going to get into the New Jersey game really quick, but even in that game, he let up 37. There were 37 shots against in that game, and I think Eric Engels put up a stat, something north of 400 shots in the 10 games that he's played.
Yeah, 415 or 420,
something like that. Yeah, and it's that's insane, right? And I know that right now the Canadians are kind of in a rebuild. That they moved out some pieces. They got some injuries. They've got some of the youth playing, etc. But no goalie should see that many shots. And I think it was just a matter of time where you can ride Allen all you want, but he's playing for pride at this point, as is the team. So you just hope that he's going to be all right. The way that he was kind of limping, though, it's not looking good. Wouldn't be surprised if they shut him down for the year, or maybe he came back the last week of the season or something. He's done everything he can for this team.
And then some.
Yeah, he's been. They've called upon him a lot throughout the year when he's been healthy, and a lot of people have been saying, let's trade him, let's get rid of him, let's do this. He provides what they need. And when Carey Price comes back, they're going to need somebody that can do that, not somebody that you're questioning every time is in the net. Right. So some people are saying, well, put Primo in there, he's the future, or put Montembeault in there. What do you got to lose? Well, the game, for instance.
Primo's development.
Right. Primo's development, etc. Like, we've seen flashes of brilliance really from Primo. He's played some phenomenal games. Montembeault has played some solid games as well, but the consistency is just not there. And with Primo, it really falls down to the development. We've seen him get lit up a few times, and we had that when Josh Anderson skated up to him that one game when he had the rough period. Yeah, when he had the rough period, and he I think that showed a lot of leadership for Josh Anderson, but he's never really recovered from that. And he's had the rough games and everything, so there's no sense of rushing him, but chances are he's going to get a call up. And luckily Kevin Poulin's playing really well for Laval right now. So
I don't know if they're going to do a call up here. It's hard.
It's hard to say. They haven't done it yet, so obviously that's going to turn to who coming back. So
yeah, well, and I want to get into that in a minute, but before we move on from Alan, Alan did speak to Eric Engels, friend of the show, and mentioned that with all the injuries he suffered this year, it's been a hellish season. It's just been bad luck after bad luck. And to piggyback on what you were saying earlier, Alan provides stability in net.
Absolutely.
And with a team that wants to compete or at least be competitive in games under St. Louis and Hughes, having stability in net is a massive, massive plus. I mean, you mentioned Montembeault has had a few good games, but he's also been lit up. He gives up a bad goal every now and then. And I mean, it's not to crap on Montembeault. He's playing above his station. They're expecting more from him than what he could possibly provide. I mean, he's an AHL starter.
He's a fringe
NHL backup.
Fringe NHL backup.
Yeah. And considering that, I think he's done extremely well. Yeah. But for the remainder of this season, if Allen's out and only Montembeault, there's only two choices left, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, we're going to talk about Brook. You wanted to bring up Josh Brook?
Yeah.
Let's talk about him.
So Josh Brook, final year of his contract, a guy that was selected in the second round, 2017. Big years in Moose Jaw where he put up 75 points in the year, went into Laval, and it's just been kind of injury plagued for this fella. And kind of feel bad for him because he did have a lot of promise, and he still does. I just think he needs to find his game again. And it was reported that a few days ago that he was, back from injury after playing 6 games for Laval, not playing his best hockey. And you've got a team right now that's pushing for a good playoff spot and really trying to gel as a team before the playoffs. And they're playing some good hockey right now. They sent him down to Trois-Rivières. He's played 2 games with them so far, scored in his first game. And I'm hoping that's all he needs. I'm just hoping that he needs to find his confidence and that maybe we'll see him back. Wouldn't surprise me if they brought him back for maybe a 1-year deal. However, it wouldn't surprise me as well if they just brought him back on an AHL only deal.
Yeah, the word is that he is staying with Trois-Rivières for the rest of the season. Now, Trois-Rivières themselves are in a playoff push, so he would definitely help there. As for him returning next season, I mean, he's an RFA at the end of this year. I fully expect him to be re-signed. The Canadiens' right-handed defenseman depth is not very good, especially at the AHL level. So signing him to a 1 or 2 year deal so that he can continue his development in Laval, I think will occur.
Yeah.
He had so much promise. The potential on this kid was that he was going to be a second pairing defenseman. And he plays the type of hockey that Hughes and Gorton want from the Canadiens. So I see him fitting in to the plans. Whether or not he can graduate, that's a whole other story. But at the very least, they'll be able to have a team that plays the style that they want at both the AHL and NHL levels, and he fits into there. So at the very least, he provides a power play option in Laval.
I think kind of what happened with him is
Injuries.
When injuries happened to him and injuries happened to the team, they were like, well, you've got some, offensive upside. We'll put you on the wing on the third line or the fourth line and that kind of stuff. And the consistency just wasn't there. And it's
that was last season under the old regime.
Yeah. But it's just unfortunate. Guy's got a lot of promise, as we say. Hopefully he can find his game in Trois-Rivières and bounce back. If not, it's we see this all the time, but you don't want to see it happen with you never want to see it happen with a prospect
especially a former second round pick.
That your team drafted, right? So
now moving on from Brooke, we're going to go back to the goaltending issue with Allen possibly out the remainder of the season, leaving Montembeault alone. You mentioned possibly calling up Primo, but according to Marc Dumont of the Montreal Canadiens, during the pregame Twitch meet and greet with the fans on Saturday night prior to the Maple Leafs game, he mentioned that the expectation of the team is to see Carey Price in uniform Monday night against Winnipeg at home. So they wouldn't need to recall Primo.
Yeah.
However, they would need to create a little bit more cap space. Bringing him in under the cap, that's $10.5 million. They don't have quite that much. They'll have to send back a couple of players. So it's very likely that Ylonen and Schoenemann could be sent down, as they're both capable of being sent down. And the cap hits from their two contracts would be enough to fit them. Also, they would provide Laval an amazing boost in skill and talent.
Very much so. Right now, excuse me. We're looking at the week. We're looking at the week ahead. They'd be playing the Jets on Monday, followed by the Blue Jackets on the road on Wednesday. The Islanders on Friday, and then the Caps on Saturday. And a back-to-back.
There's 6 games left total in the season. And Price, if he does return, and he is healthy, it wouldn't be odd to see him play at least 3 games. He would definitely not play the back-to-back. So
no,
there's that. I would see him playing more of the home games, just because fans want to see him and cheer him on. And
like some people were saying that he was going to play last night, and I'm like, no, they're not going to put. It wasn't even again like it's like, oh, it's a Montreal, Toronto, and everything, and I'm like, they're not going to put him up in a game on the road for his first game.
No,
it's going to 100%
not against a team like Toronto.
It was even if it was Toronto, even if it was against Toronto, it would have been a home game.
Yeah,
right.
Because they know with a lost season, the fans want something to cheer for, and that is definitely a big plus to cheer for.
Yeah. But we saw him in Toronto with the team at the Blue Jays game. He was there with Caulfield, Suzuki, Gallagher, Petrie, Evans. So a bunch of them went to the home opener. So that was nice to see. And I know some different fans that were able to run into some of these guys and get pictures with them. And
So I truly hope that Price does step into the game on Monday night. That would be so great. It would make it a must-watch game.
Absolutely. If not, we're not seeing him till at least Friday or Saturday.
Yeah. Now, I know a lot of people want him traded or gone. Don't hold your breath on that. Again, Hughes has said that he wants his team to be competitive. So unless Price wants to leave, I would say that he is going to be a Montreal Canadian next season. So playing a few
I
games
believe so
now,
too.
Before the end of the season does at least assuage some fears to his health.
Yes.
And if he does want to leave, he says, hey, quietly says, hey, trade me. Playing these games would make it possible to make a trade because GMs will say, oh, okay, he's back. I don't want to see what the return would be on that trade. I don't think it's going to be very good. But
like you've got a phenomenal number one goaltender who has so many records and has played so well at the international level and has really excuse me been the glue that's kept the scheme together for many years. He's not a guy that you can just kind of cast aside, but noticing some of the fan base is doing so and saying, oh well, it's time for Primo, or we've got this guy in the system, or they've got. Okay, I'm going to be very blunt. The Montreal Canadiens have no goaltenders in the system that can jump up and take over for Carey Price right now.
No,
they do not.
No,
they've got some very good organizational depth that are in development, and with this new regime, I think that they're going to be developed properly. However, it's not like you have a 1A, 1B situation where you can say, okay, you've usurped your 1A and now you're going to move up.
No, this is a case where the Canadiens have Jake Allen. So he could be a starter for them.
He could.
In a season where they're not trying to be a contender of any kind. Like he could, if they put together the right team with Allen and net, they could maybe compete enough to where they're close to a playoff spot.
Agreed.
So if you want to trade Price, sure, go ahead, but someone needs to back up Allen.
That's right.
And it's not going to be Primo because he needs more time.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from there, the game against New Jersey on Thursday. The Canadiens put up a touchdown. I mean, I didn't have Habs score 7 on my bingo card this season.
No.
So, and there it was.
So this was Andrew Hammond's first game against his old team, the team that traded him to a NHL franchise. So he'd be able to get some games in and everything like that. And so far, it has not worked out. It has not worked out very well in New Jersey for Hammond. Unfortunately, he came in. He played some fantastic games with the Canadiens, kept them in these games, but he's let up, I believe, 13 goals in the 2 games that he's played for New Jersey, and including one where I think New Jersey was up, by 5 goals or something like that, and Florida came back and beat them.
That's Florida, though. They're the highest scoring team in the league.
Exactly. But you hope that he can turn it around, and that maybe he can get a job next season or something. But back to the game. It was not a pretty game on either side. On either side of the ice. The players that you expected to come out and play hard came out and played hard. Caulfield scored, Suzuki scored,
Clegg scored.
Yeah,
got a goal and 2 assists.
Yeah, superstar. The superstar of Clegg.
Yeah, Wideman 3 points.
Wideman had a big game. Dvorak had a 3-point game. Jake Allen again made 33 saves.
Yeah, he faced a ton of shots. A lot of them were blocked too. There's a lot of blocked shots there. So it's not just the shots that made it in. He has to adjust and move to the shots as they're coming. So they had something like 95 shot attempts. So that's 95 times that Allen had to move and set for a shot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But, overall the game, I said it was a very, very loose defensive game.
What defense?
Not one that the coach would be, let's just say, proud of. There's
No.
just a lot of quick counter strike goals. You know, we score on one end, you score on the other. It happened often in this one. You
It
know,
sure did.
Evans scored the 2-0 goal. 30 seconds later, Tatar puts one in. AJ Greer scores. Armia scores a minute and 20 later. Wideman and Dvorak score 15 seconds apart, setting each other up. So that was nice to see.
Yeah.
You had Wideman from Clegg and Dvorak, followed by Dvorak from Wideman and Clegg. So good on that. And I thought it was one of Wideman's best games of the year and one of Dvorak's best games of the year.
Yeah, and both those goals come off face-off wins.
Yes. And then soon after that, 25 seconds later, so Ty Smith scores. And,
that was a weak goal.
Yeah,
Allen would want that one back.
And gets into it a little bit with his buddy Gallagher after the whistle. And
yep. PK and Gallagher were going at it.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I said it's not one of those games that you want to see all the time. They came out on the right side of it. They picked up the win. Shout out to Jake Evans, won 70% of his faceoffs that night. He was 14-6. And as I said, like Suzuki had a strong game, as did Dvorak, as did Wideman. Hopefully Armia can continue playing like that, just so possibly his trade value can somehow possibly go up.
Armia is the Alex Kovalev of bottom sixers.
Yeah.
He'll play one amazing game and then disappear for 4.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's been his MO this season.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Well, his contract really led to Lehkonen being moved out.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And they got a good return for him. I think Barron's going to do good things for the team moving forward. And, obviously a draft pick's nice if you use it properly.
True. But there's several years before that comes around.
That's right.
Yeah. So definitely if Armia had not been re-signed by Marc Bergevin, I would say it's almost 100% likely that Lehkonen would still be a Montreal Canadian.
Yeah.
But that's revisionist history.
That's right.
And this is what it is. I wish Lehkonen the best of luck with Colorado.
Yep.
Maybe they win a cup.
Maybe.
We can see it here in Halifax when Nate brings it home. It's possible. Now, moving on to the Hockey Night in Toronto. Hockey Night in Canada game.
No, you hit that right on the head. That's exactly what that was.
Yeah.
And it's not because of the Canadiens' loss.
No, the whole day was basically the so-called national broadcast filleting Matthews all day long.
Yeah. It is frustrating to watch. And yes, I know that this is a Canadiens-based show. And we're rough on the Leafs every now and then. We're rough on the Sens every now and then, but we don't go out of our way to do so. When you watch a national broadcast with 2 Canadian teams playing, 2 original 6 teams playing, and for instance, Caufield's goal, the first thing that they did was show the bench and show Austin Matthews' reaction, followed by Marner's reaction, followed by Canadians celebrating the goal. It's over the top, and there's 2 teams out there. Both teams have great talent on them. Yes, I know one team's going to the playoffs, one team isn't. But even if both teams were going to the playoffs, this wouldn't change. And yes, I know you need to appease your big crowds in Toronto, and
ignoring the fact that Montreal's fan base across the country is slightly larger than Toronto's, not to mention all the other fan bases across the country. There's 7 Canadian teams.
Yeah.
Calgary was playing that night. That was the later game, mind you. Who else was playing around that time? The Senators were playing the Rangers at the exact same time.
Didn't hear a thing.
Not a thing. I didn't even know they were playing until I looked up the whole list.
Yeah, didn't hear a thing.
So the whole day was just Matthews 50 and 50, 50 and 50.
Yeah.
Ignoring the fact that this is not 50 and 50.
Yeah.
The
So
stick.
if you cherry pick, like I don't
They're
really
cherry
like that.
picking.
You know, good on, you know what? I'm not going to throw Matthews under the bus. He's
No,
a
he's an
very
amazing goal
he's a
scorer.
very good player. The puck seems to be just attached to him this season. Well, we saw last night with the goals that he scored. One, he was nowhere real near the play, and he's like, I'm just going to skate in, and it's going to find me, and it did.
Yeah, he tends to sneak in after everybody else has done the hard work and just pick it up and snipe one.
Right, and
Like
then the first goal and the first shot,
yeah,
on Montembeau, which I just
but
shook my head.
that's some really good offensive instincts as well.
Right. So I'm not going to throw the guy under the bus. He's a really good player. He's going to do some really good things in the league. However, do you really need to have a moment where you stop the game to show his to show his goal that he passed Rick Vave for, like during the game? Can't you do that? Can't you do that during the pregame?
You could. That is a big deal. Like, he's breaking a franchise record. That's
Right. Like,
for 40
it's,
years.
but like, I was like, do you really need to show that?
And they did show a little montage in the first commercial intermission.
Yeah.
And he got a little bit of a cheer, but not even a standing ovation from his hometown crowd.
Yeah.
You just broke Rick Vive's 40-year-old record.
And it's because most of the people that are sitting in that fucking arena don't know who Rick Vive is, because they don't know anything about the team other than when Matthews and Marner showed up on the team.
Because the sad thing is, the real Toronto Maple Leaf fans, the hardcore, the rabid fans, can't afford to go to these games. It's all corporate seats.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If the standard rabid Toronto Maple Leaf fans were there, that place would have been, the roof would have blown off the top.
Exactly.
When they showed
they've got some great fans, right? Just
Yeah.
like the Canadians do, just like the Sens do, just like the Jets do, anything like that.
The issue here is not, people hate Matthews. That's not it. The issue is, he has shoved down everyone's throats to the point where people are just fed up and seeing it. It's too much.
It is. And it really makes it hard to watch the games, because exactly during a commercial break, as soon as they come back, or during just an icing or something, they're like, oh, well, did you see that stick check by this? I'm like, do we really need to see this?
Well, they're trying to pump his tires for Selke. He is not a Selke player.
He's not.
And if you watch the highlights of Montreal's goals, especially the Caulfield one, it's not just his reaction. In the actual highlight package, they show Matthews' shift before the goal, almost in its entirety. Then they quickly show the goal and then his reaction. Like, it is disgusting how he's pushed down people's throats when he's not even the best player on his team. It's Marner. Mm-hmm. Marner is the best player on that team. Marner is the one that stirs the drink there, and he's barely talked about.
Yeah.
But to the game, despite the fact that they're, automatic Stanley Cup champs.
So to the game, Austin Matthews scored two goals. No. Sorry, the Gary Galley of me came out there for a second.
Oh my God, Gary Galley. Moving on from that, this is the Leafs came into this hoping to get the win, and they wanted to make a statement win to show the league that they're ready. And I honestly don't believe they did. Like, they won the game.
They won the game. Yes,
they won off a lucky bounce off a John Tavares shot.
Yes, that went off Jordan Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Harris played his man properly at the side of the net, but it was just one of those things where Tavares did a quick spin around and went off his foot in it. So they won that game on that. Yes, they had possession for about 66% of the game.
Yeah.
But their high danger chances were not quite as high as you would expect. They're coming from the outside. I mean, they put together a Nylander highlight reel after the game, and all of his shots were from the point or from the boards. Yeah. You're not going to score there.
No. I felt the Canadians, when they finally started to get a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
That's when the refs stepped in and said, well, we can't have that.
Well,
And there was some really bad calls last night.
yeah.
I'd like to say it's on both sides. But
The only one that I really don't like was the Petrie call. He got 2 minutes for hitting a guy with a clean check.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't like that one. I know we're going to get into to Bunting and Wideman as well. I wasn't really a fan of that one.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
But I didn't like Pizzetta's either. Pizzetta just kind of rubbed his guy out, and he kind of just went down.
At the same time, a stick was kind of there too. I can totally understand the other calls. It's just the Petrie call that I do not like.
Same thing as the Romanov one on Marner. I know Marner's not the biggest guy, but he went down real easy. But yeah, the worst one obviously was the one that was Pitlick. Actually, it wasn't Petrie.
Okay, sorry.
Petrie,
but I thought that was Petrie that went to the box.
I think he originally started going to the box, but Pitlick took the penalty.
Anyway.
But anyways, he goes tripping for a hip check.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that was all right around the end of the game. When you've got to kill a 5-on-3 in the final, 8 minutes of the game, and they really didn't use that late power play to their advantage very well.
No, I want to talk about that in a minute, but let's talk about that penalty kill, because that 5-on-3 penalty kill, I thought for sure the Leafs were going to bury that. They put out their 5 best skaters and they couldn't do shit.
No, that was very good. They had Edmondson come up really big on that, as did Petrie, as did Savard. I thought it was very well orchestrated by the Canadians, and
Montembeault made 2 really good saves.
He did. And where was that this season?
He has it in flashes.
He does.
Yeah. So that penalty kill, I mean, that could have been a turning point in the game had they scored later on. Could have been, but either way, I think that provides the team a little bit of confidence moving forward for next year.
Yes.
Now, on their power play, they had 2 power plays that game, as opposed to the 12 that went against them.
Well, it's not the fact that they didn't have power play; it's the fact that when the calls were made, they were already on the kill.
Yeah. So
they had all these abbreviated power plays, right?
This last one, though, at the end of the game, was their only full power play, and they entered the zone very well. I liked their zone entries. They had a couple of hiccups. They got the puck in deep, but Toronto out-battled them in the corner. So Muzzin and Brody did amazing jobs to break up the cycle and then throw the puck down ice. So right there, you lost about a minute.
Yeah.
But they were able to re-enter the zone under control, which that's something new for the Canadians. And they were able to get a couple of shots. Now, unfortunately, Hoffman on the point completely ignored Caulfield, who was sitting wide open.
Yeah.
And that could have been a much better scoring chance than the one that he thought he had with a wrist shot from the point.
Yeah, their shot selection was lacking. Poor. And then, you get the last, say, 15, 20 seconds. It just seemed that they didn't know what to do.
No, they were confused. And that is to Toronto's credit. They were playing a very tight man-on-man at the end of the game, knowing that they had to kill that off. And they put out the right line for it, because the Spezza line is extremely efficient at doing that. That being said, just sneaking past the Montreal Canadiens to tie the season series at 2, I don't think did much to convince too many people that Toronto's ready to take that next step.
No, if I'm not gonna throw the Leafs under the bus. Like they've
got a lot of good pieces.
They've got some good pieces. They've got some. They've got a team that's built right now for
the regular season.
The regular season, and that's the thing. Right now, if the playoffs were to start, they would be playing Boston in the first round.
And I'm going to be honest, the way Swayman has been playing in net for Boston, the fact that Bergeron's coming back, he's going to be rested and healthy. Their defense, once Lindholm returns, is dangerous. So, and not to mention, Boston has that experience and that knowledge that they can compete in the playoffs. I don't think Boston's going to win a cup, but they can definitely win 1 or 2 series.
Yeah. And Tampa right now is 1 point back of
They're
Boston.
just a machine, that team.
Right. They've went on a little bit of a losing streak lately. They haven't been playing their best hockey. However, we know that they can really turn it up.
They just want to make the playoffs. They don't care what seed they are. They're just looking to make the playoffs at this point.
That's right. So
they
now,
know what matters.
If the playoffs were to start right now, Toronto will be playing Boston. The Rangers would be playing Pittsburgh. Carolina would be taking on Tampa, and Washington would play Florida, which I think that would be quite the series.
Be a good series,
right? But going back to the Leafs right now, I don't think that they would get. I'm not just being biased. I'm just they're not built for the playoffs just yet. They're starting to bring in some pieces, and when they eventually get knocked out in the first round, they're going to blame all the pieces that they brought in. They're going to blame their goaltending, and then they're going to blame all their depth. They're not going to blame any of the guys that show up for the regular season and flame out in the playoffs.
Like, for instance, Matthews and Marner. So those two need to step up in the playoffs, especially Matthews. If you're going to be calling him a Hart Trophy winner or a Lester B. Pearson or a fucking Rocket Richard, like he has to show up in the playoffs. Yeah. And honestly, he's not showing me anything to prove that he's going to be doing that, because he's had far too many instances in the regular season where he's just been outworked, outmuscled. He hasn't put in that second effort.
Yeah, so giving up on plays, etc. Yep. Yeah.
And this, they're a little bit better than they were last year because they have a full line with Matthews and Marner. They brought in that 40-year-old rookie Bunting. And I want to get into what he did. So Bunting, talented kid, he can put up 20 goals.
He is
playing on a line with those two. But he's got a little bit of an issue that I think if they face off against a team like Boston in the playoffs, is really going to hurt the team. And that is, he's got a big mouth.
He does.
He loves to chirp. And that's not a problem. I like those greasy little players that chirp, but he goes out of his way. So the game Saturday night against Montreal, Matthews scores the second goal.
Yeah, second goal, yeah.
And instead of going to the left-hand side of the ice to celebrate that goal, and it was a nice goal, with his teammates, he instead goes out of his way to go down to the right-hand corner about 100 feet from the celebration to go right into Wideman's face and say something dumb and smile. Then when Wideman says, "Fuck you," drops his gloves, he turtles. Like, that shit does not fly. He's going to have a problem. His reputation is going to take a massive hit.
I think his reputation's already taken a hit because we saw him go after Dylan Cousins.
Yeah.
At the outdoor game after Cousins laid out Austin Matthews with a clean hit after he cross-checked Deline in the face and got a 2-game suspension for it. But as you said, he's got a mouth, and the guy can put up some points. Obviously, you look at the team that he's playing for, and for the players he's playing with, not even the team that he's playing for. But I think, his mouth's going to get him in a lot of trouble, and I think someone's going to lay him out. And we've seen Wideman's not scared to drop the gloves. He's not the biggest guy in the right. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but like, you come up to a guy and you start running your mouth, and you do you go up and you say, "Oh, you want to go? Want to go?" There's people that are going to want to go, and that happened last night. And as you know, it's a happy. He's probably happy that the refs and the linesmen were there, because if not, Wideman probably would have fed a few to him.
Yeah, and this is not the first time he's done it either. He did it last week against the Rangers. Yeah. The exact same thing. Yeah. So it's like he's trying to be the next Brad Marchand.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. No. Marchand has a style to how he agitates. He's not a childish go into the corner kind of thing.
What's going to happen with
lick you.
What's going to happen with Bunting? He's got one more year left on a really team-friendly deal.
And then he'll be gone for money.
And then he's going to be gone for money, just like everybody else. And then they'll say, "Where's our depth?" Right. So,
honestly, I'm going to enjoy watching that team finally sort out their cap issues. We've been saying it for years. This team isn't being held back because guys like Matthews and Marner aren't showing up in the playoffs.
No.
Well, they are a little bit, but it's more the cap issue.
Yeah.
So until they sort that out, I'm going to enjoy watching them lose.
Oh, same here.
Now,
we just have to get through 82 games of them being talked about, and then
being filleted by Sportsnet and TSN.
Right.
Yeah.
So
now on the Matthews 50 in 50 bullshit.
Yeah.
Yes, he scored 51 goals over a span of 50 games, but 50 and 50,
which is still
great,
which is still a good thing. Like I'm not going to say anything bad, and we're not saying anything bad about that.
But however, I'm not calling that 50 and 50.
It's not 50 and 50. 50 and 50 is 50 goals in 50 games.
In the first 50 games.
First 50 games. It is not.
No.
Yeah, it is not cherry picked to say, okay, you started scoring at game 11, which I don't know what the fuck he scored at, but whatever. You started scoring at game 11, and now in a 50 game span, you've scored 50 games. It's still impressive.
Yes.
To score 50 goals at this level is incredible. If you score 30 goals at this level is incredible, let alone 50.
Absolutely.
But it's not.
Leaf fans should be happy to have that, but it's not.
But it's not 50 and 50. Yeah. So pump the tires on that a little bit there, Gary Galley.
Yeah, my God. Moving on from that, I want to talk about the Canadiens' youth in this game. Yep. So we talked about Allen being taken out early. Montembeault having a pretty good game. He let in a couple of goals, but he had a .920 save percentage in this game.
Yep.
So he showed up. Now the youth, Romanov, he had over 25 minutes. He led the team in ice time, hits, blocked shots. I give him a lot of credit. He blocked a shot off the wrist, and it was a hell of a shot. He went down pretty hard. And instead of embellishing to get a whistle or a penalty, he got his ass up and went to the bench.
Yeah.
The next shift, he was right out there again because he didn't need a trainer to come get his ass. Yeah. He was out there and he's playing, but you can tell he was hurt because he got this really soft saucer pass from Tyler Pitlick on a breakout, and he couldn't handle it with the one hand. So despite that, he was engaged physically. He was causing problems for the Maple Leafs because he was able to keep up with their speed. I think that bodes really, really well for him going into next season.
Agreed.
Suzuki again, really solid game, 23 minutes ice time. Caulfield, 20 minutes of ice time. Beautiful goal. Like to take it from the backhand to the forehand and release like that, unreal. And the Canadiens were able to generate a ton of odd man rushes. Toronto likes to press offensively, and when they do, they're way too deep, and the Canadiens took advantage of that. Now, Toronto's goaltending bailed them out.
Very much so. Cauffield had a very good chance coming out of the box, and so did Anderson. Props to them. Props to the goaltending.
Yeah. No, he showed up. So if you're a Leafs fan and you're upset at Shelgren, if you're upset at him for any reason after that game, you're an idiot. He did his job. Yeah, he let in a couple of goals, but I mean, how many people are going to stop that Caulfield shot?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know what Marner was complaining about afterwards. Maybe it was, I don't know. But more importantly, Caulfield made one play that was just lights out impressive. He didn't get a point on it, but the dive to keep the puck in the zone for that first goal.
Yes. And that's just great offensive instinct right there. He knew where he was on the ice, and that directly led to the goal.
Yeah, that was a key play. Yeah. Had that gotten out, that goal never would have happened.
No. and as Gary Galley said, it should be 3 should be 3-0. Should be 3-0 right now. Off the stick of Austin Matthews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Should have been 10-0 because Austin Matthews scores 20 goals for every 2 shots.
Yeah, fuck.
Anyway.
But talking about the youth and everything, I didn't think it was Harris's best game.
I didn't think he played that poorly.
I don't think
mean,
I don't think he played awful, but a small sample size. Not the greatest game.
I mean, he had 2 hits, a blocked shot. He manned up pretty well in the corners and in front of the net.
Well, the difficult thing there was the fact that they lost Wideman for 14 minutes.
Yes.
Right? Wideman only played just over 9 minutes. But you lose even a bottom pairing defenseman for that long, it fucks with the rest of the shift. So you're not going to just sit Harris the whole time. So he went out there a little bit with this guy, a little bit with this guy, a little bit with this guy, and to kind of just give other players a little bit of a break. I'm really liking what Suzuki and Caulfield are doing, and we've been talking about them all year. They did not use the fourth line very much.
No.
Which is kind of something they've been doing lately. But Pizzetta, yes, he took a penalty. Pitlick took a penalty, but
I think the fourth line didn't play that much because the fourth line doesn't have the speed to keep up.
That's true. Dauphin's game is really kind of went back to the way that it used to be, instead of being that second line, star center that he was for a while. But it's
yeah,
it's kind of come back to reality for him, right? So,
but now the Canadians, they really, really need to start working on that defensive coverage.
They do.
I know it's Toronto, and I know they have a lot of offensive weapons, and they're very good at pushing the play offensively. But the Canadians lost a lot of man-on-man battles. They're playing this man-on-man defense. Toronto knows it, and they're using that cycle play to create odd man areas where they can have a little bit of a pick, they can move the puck, and then they get their shots. So
well, you look at the last few games, you look at some of the last few games the Canadians played, and some of the calls that went against them. Maybe the players are just, they're like, we're playing a certain way, and they're making these calls, so they're not adjusting their game to it.
No, sometimes the call is because they're a little bit behind the play.
Yes, but they've got to be better. We know they've got to be better. The team knows they got to be better, and that's going to be an area that they're going to have to address during the off season to move guys out and make the defense great again. There's that.
Yeah.
Bring back Markov.
Sure. And that kind of brings me to St. Louis. Yeah. The talk is, what if he's not back? What if he's not back? I totally expect him back.
I do too. However, we brought this up on the last show. They can't just sit back and wait.
No, they're going to go out of their way to, make him happy, give him like a 3-year deal, pay him whatever. I don't give a shit. It's not on the cap. But that means that the entire coaching staff is likely to change. I can't see Burrows remaining. Letowski maybe. Luke Richardson, it's tough to say.
Hard to say.
But the remainder of the assistant coaches and stuff, I see a complete overhaul, especially for special teams, because that power play was just not working. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a big storyline.
It's pretty rough to watch.
Yeah. I think in the off season here, starting in about a couple of weeks, that's going to become a very large storyline. Something we can make and dedicate entire episodes to.
Done.
We might have to, because we won't have much to talk about for playoffs, because there are none.
That's right.
Anyway,
maybe we can do something like what Steve Dangle did, and we can watch a Leafs game with a bunch of Habs fans. Exactly. It does not work.
No, we're not a national carrier, so we're not going to cover the Leafs.
Oh my God. That was awful last year. Watch a Habs game with Steve Dangle. Why?
Seeing him wear a Habs jersey was nice, but that was a still photo that I saw the next day.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. Steve Dangle, like the guy. He's a nice guy. Met up a few times.
He's a nice guy.
Great family man, but Jesus Christ, I just don't want to watch his stuff.
Yeah.
We have Matt Bedard, Scotian Canadian.
Absolutely.
we're going to pump anyone's tires, it's Matt Bedard's.
That's right.
Here's Matt, Scotian Canadian. Check him out, YouTube. He's the Montreal Canadiens version of Steve Dangle, minus the yelling.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much covers everything. Do you have any final thoughts?
Shout out to Habs 5th round pick, Joshua Waugh, who broke 100 points the other night with Sherbrooke. He's got 40 goals and 60 assists on the season in 55 games. Very, very impressive. Very impressive.
I'm having a hard time remembering the last time a Montreal Canadiens prospect scored 100 points in the juniors.
It's been a while. That they actually drafted. It's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah.
Not traded for, actually drafted, and then scored 100.
I'd have to think of that. And also Riley Kidney played 57 games, got 87 points, 27 and 60. If his team continues to play strong, we might see another guy break 100 points. It's very possible it could happen.
Yeah. Our friend Marco talked to him, so he's got an interview on Montreal Hockey Now. I believe he also spoke to Grant McCagg of Recruits, so you can check out a couple of interviews there. I've got really nothing.
I got one more.
Okay.
Shout out to Denver and Brett Stapley, who won a Frozen Four national championship.
And Stapley is now ready to sign a contract or join free agency. It's going to be interesting to see if they sign him.
It will be. He had 43 points, 41 games this year with Denver. Put up a very good season. Now it's going to be, what's he going to do? Is he going to sign with a team, or sign with the team, or is he going to go to free agency?
It's tough to say. I mean, signing him would mean another addition to Laval that could be really used. I mean, they've got Luca Condata and Emil Heineman, who have just joined Laval. You throw him in as well. I mean, depth in Laval is starting to look a lot better. I mean, they were playing guys on PTOs for forever on the blue line and up front because they were just decimated by injuries.
Yeah.
So,
but they've got a few contract spots open. If they want to bring them in, they can, right? So
yeah, everything depends on who's in their plans, because there's not going to be a ton of space. The Canadians have so many prospects.
They do, because they still have Farrell. They've got Jordan Harris, Jade Struble as well,
who's likely to go back to school anyway. Struble are going back to school. So
but when you start looking at entry level deals and everything, you need to look at the overlaps and contracts per year and everything, right? So, I'm really not. I'm still thinking about your question earlier. The last time they had a prospect,
it's been I can't for the life of me can't remember if they're the last time.
I'm sure there has been one.
I'm sure. Corey Locke. It's been like 20 some odd years. I think it was Corey Locke. I'm pretty sure.
I honestly don't know.
To our listeners, check it out. If I'm right,
definitely check it out.
If I'm right, just post Blaine was right, and if you're in Nova Scotia, you get a free case of beer. Done. All right, so nothing from me. I don't have any final thoughts. I just want to say again, thank you to everyone who's listening, interacting with us. We've got a ton of really great people that we talk to online, not just Habs fans, but all fan bases.
I found a stat.
Oh, God.
I found a stat. Drafted by the Montreal Canadiens in 2005, 7th round, 200th overall. In the 06-07 season, Sergei Kostitsyn, 131 points that year with the London Knights. Yeah,
not bad.
40 goals, 91 assists.
They won the Memorial Cup that year too, didn't they?
In 06, I don't know.
That was with Corey Perry and that. Oh no, that's not Corey Perry. He was drafted in 03.
With the 06-07 team, that was Patrick Kane's team.
That's it. I'm pretty sure they won the Memorial Cup that year.
I think they did, probably.
It's a hell of a team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Patrick Kane's team.
Yeah.
Okay. And Sergei Kostitsyn continues to play hard in the UHSL, wherever the hell that is. It looks like Ukrainian Hockey League, something.
I don't think they're playing right now.
I don't know. The UHSL. I don't even know what that is.
His country's government has decided to not play nice with the Ukrainians.
Okay. So he is playing in I learned something today. The UHSL, look it up. 16 points in 20 games.
Good for him. All right. So on that note, I want to thank everybody for listening, interacting with us. Not just because you're a Habs fan. We talk and we're friends with people from all the fan bases. Because we're not Sportsnet. So again, thank you very much for listening. And remember, if you're talking about it, so are we.